Growing up with siblings must be fun, but it can also be tough at times. Despite their cruelty, your siblings can help boost your self-esteem. According to a 2014 study on sibling relationships, people who have brothers and sisters are more empathic, kind and charitable than the only child counterparts. This could be as a result of a lifetime of learning to share and compromise. Your personality might also be affected by the type of sibling you have. There is no rule that says a family member cannot be a friend. This is what happened to the Lyon sisters, Katherine and Sheila Lyon, who grew up as sisters and best friends. It was a typical wholesome neighborhood, where kids rode their bikes without parental supervision and walked to their friends' houses on their own. It was just a couple of days before Easter, when the sisters took a walk from their home to get pizza and look at Easter decorations to a nearby shopping mall in the Washington, D.C. suburb of Wheaton, Maryland on March 25, 1975. That was the last time any of the sisters' family members or friends saw them alive. Their case, widely known as the Lyon sisters, resulted in one of the greatest police investigations in the history of the Washington metropolitan region. A team of cold case investigators with Montgomery County, Maryland police found a break in the investigation 38 years after the Lyon sisters went missing. They focused on Lloyd Lee Welch Jr., who was then serving a lengthy prison sentence in Delaware for child sexual assault, the climax of a lengthy criminal record that began a few years after the girls' disappearance with a burglary charge in their jurisdiction. Welch pleaded guilty to 2 charges of first-degree murder in September 2017 for the abduction and death of the 2 sisters. It had long been known as one of the most high-profile unsolved crimes in the Washington, D.C. area. The girls' bodies were never found. According to police records, Welch came forward a week after the girls' disappearance and allegedly told a security officer at the shopping center, where the girls were last seen, that he had witnessed another man abduct them there. The description of the other man offered by Welch matched one given to the public by newspapers and other media outlets. A conservatively dressed man, according to that description, had demonstrated a new sort of audiocassette player at the shopping center while children and teenagers, including the Lyon sisters, gathered around him. Welch was questioned at a police station shortly after telling this story to the mall security officer, in an attempt to cast suspicion on the other man. He failed a lie detector test, then admitted he had lied. However, he was released and was not questioned again for more than 38 years. During the reopening of the case, police discovered that a mugshot of Welch taken in 1977 matched a police sketch of a possible suspect who had been seen staring inappropriately at the Lyon sisters in the shopping mall. Detectives began questioning Welch in prison, and he made remarks that further implicated him despite his protests of innocence. One of his cousins informed them that he assisted Welch with the burning of 2 big bloody duffel bags in Bedford County, Virginia. Welch was indicted and charged with the girls' murders in July 2015 and pled guilty to murder 2 years later. His uncle was also a person of interest. The 2 sisters were born to John and Mary Lyon in Kensington, Maryland. They had an elder brother named Jay who went on to become a police officer. Their father, John Lyon, was a well-known radio personality at WMAL, a local radio station owned by the owner of the ABC television affiliate in Washington, and the now-defunct Washington Star at the time. He later worked as a victims counselor. For months, the sisters' disappearance was highlighted in high-profile articles in the national media. Wheaton Plaza, which now known as Westfield Wheaton, was located a half-mile away from their home. The sisters went to the mall to see the Easter exhibits on the day they disappeared. It was their spring break and they intended to eat lunch at the Orange Bowl, a pizza restaurant in the mall. They left between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. Their mother had told them to return home by 4 p.m. before they left. According to a neighborhood child, at around 1 in the afternoon, he sees both of the girls together outside the Orange Bowl speaking to an unidentified man. A neighborhood boy who knew the sisters also said he spotted them outside the Orange Bowl talking with a man he never saw before. The man was about 6 feet tall, around the age of 50 to 60 years old, and dressed in a brown suit. The man was carrying a briefcase with a tape recorder, and other children were speaking into a microphone he was holding. Police considered the unknown man as a key suspect in the Lyon sisters' case after hearing the witness description of the man, and 2 composite sketches of the individual were prepared. After about an hour, the girls' older brother sees them in the Orange Bowl eating pizza together, and not long after, a friend sees the girls walking westward down a street near the mall, which would have been one of the most direct routes from the mall to their home. This is the final sighting of the sisters that the police have confirmed. The curfew set by their mother passes. The girls are expected home and do not arrive. When they haven't arrived by 7 p.m., the police are called and a large search is conducted. Police investigated the case after receiving information from multiple persons, who believed they recognized the sketch of the mysterious man with the suitcase. According to press reports, a man matching the sketch was seen a few weeks ago at the Marlow Heights Shopping Center and Iverson Mall, in neighboring Prince George's County, Maryland. According to these witnesses, he approached a group of young girls and asked them to read an answering machine message typed on an index card into his handheld microphone. The police never officially acknowledged a direct link between these reports and the disappearance of the Lyon sisters. Following their disappearance, a friend of the Lyon sisters, who was a girl their age, told detectives how a long-haired man at the mall had stared at them for so long and so intently that she confronted him. Based on her description, a sketch artist created a drawing of a white late teens or early 20s with acne on his face, scars on his left cheek, and shabbily dressed. That sketch, however, does not appear to have gone viral. The description provided by the girl's friend contrasted dramatically with the lone description of a possible suspect made public in 1975, that of the well-groomed, conservatively dressed man later labeled tape recorder guy. Apart from the differences in facial features, hair, and clothing, the tape recorder man and the long-haired man were several decades apart in age. Throughout the weeks, various volunteer groups combed vacant lots and stream beds for the sisters. The search continued, and media interest reached such a fever pitch that on May 23, 1975, Maryland Lieutenant Governor Blair Lee ordered 122 National Guardsmen to participate in a search for the missing girls in a Montgomery County forest. A witness in Manassas, Virginia, reported seeing 2 girls resembling Sheila and Katherine in the back of a beige 1968 Ford station wagon on April 7, nearly 2 weeks after their disappearance. According to the witness, the girls were bound and gagged in the van. The driver of the station wagon resembled the man described in the public sketch of the prime suspect. When the driver noticed the witness tailing him, he allegedly ran a red light and drove west on Route 234 towards Interstate 66 in Virginia. The station wagon had Maryland license plates, but the last 2 numbers are unknown due to the plates bending. At the time, the known combination was issued in Cumberland, Hagerstown, and Baltimore, Maryland. This alleged sighting prompted a tiny army of mobile citizen band radio users to scour the area with a running commentary and chatter throughout the evening and into the night, but with no real results. A search for matching license plate numbers yielded no results. Although this witness's report was initially seen as credible and a media firestorm erupted because of it, it was later deemed questionable by police. The disappearance triggered calls from psychics, extortionists, and anyone looking for publicity. In the immediate aftermath of the sisters' disappearance, the Lyon family received several phone calls from people claiming to have the girls and offering to exchange them for ransom money. On April 4, 1975, an unknown male allegedly ordered that John Lyon leave a suitcase containing $10,000 inside an Annapolis, Maryland courthouse lavatory. He only left $101 in the briefcase as instructed by law enforcement, just enough to make the crime a felony, but the briefcase was never claimed. After a while, the same anonymous caller called John Lyon and stated there were too many cops near the courthouse and he couldn't get the ransom. John Lyon stated that he needed to hear the girls' voices before he would do anything else. He never got in touch with them again. Fred Howard Coffey was convicted in 1987 in North Carolina for the 1979 beating, strangulation, murder, and molestation of a 10-year-old girl and is currently serving a life sentence after an earlier death sentence was overturned in a North Carolina jail. 6 days after the Lyon sisters disappeared, he interviewed and was hired in Silver Spring, Maryland, according to authorities. Wheaton Plaza is only a short distance away from Silver Spring. Investigators have been unable to determine whether Coffey is involved in the case, and he was never charged in connection with the disappearances. Another possible suspect, named in press reports, was Raymond Rudolph Moleski Sr. He lived in Suitland, Maryland in 1975, not far from the Prince George's County malls where a man with a microphone had approached young girls. In November 1977, Moleski murdered his wife and teenage son and injured another son in their house after a family feud. He was found guilty of the murders and sentenced to 40 years in prison. Authorities examined Moleski's previous residence in April 1982 based on both prison informants' tips and Moleski's own claims to know something about the Lyon sisters' case, which he offered to share more fully in exchange for better jail conditions. However, no proof was discovered and Moleski passed away in prison in 2004. As previously stated, a week after the disappearance, Lloyd Welch offered his own version of events. He returned to Wheaton Plaza Mall on the same day that media published a description of the conservatively dressed man carrying a briefcase, with an audio cassette recorder and a microphone. He told a security guard that he had evidence for the case. According to court records, he stated that he saw a man with a tape recorder talking to two girls and then forcing the girls into a car. Montgomery County detectives were called to the mall and brought Welch to a neighboring police station for questioning. He was subjected to a polygraph examination. When told he had failed it, he admitted to providing false information about witnessing the abduction and was freed by police. A one-page report was made out and placed on top of the interview transcript, with the word "lied" printed across the top. For the next 38 years, the only way to learn about Welch's possible involvement in the case was to investigate police records. Many detectives worked on the Lyon girls' cold case throughout the years. However, by 2013, several had retired. Sergeant Chris Homrock stumbled across Lloyd Welch's statement after years of reviewing every detail of the case that he hadn't read before. He also noted that Welch's mug shot nearly matched the police sketch made 38 years ago. Homrock concluded from the data in the file that Welch had observed the crime because he had described Ray Moleski's limp, and Homrock had not ruled out Moleski. Homrock, on the other hand, had learned that Welch had been charged with child abuse. Detectives began working from this new perspective, and after conducting background research, they devised an interview strategy. They had their first interview with Welch on October 16, 2013. They were concerned that Welch would refuse to speak with them. Nonetheless, on the first day of the interview, Welch spoke with them for several hours. Welch inadvertently revealed the truths of the murder, hidden in his elaborate frameworks of lies to Detective Dan Davis over the lengthy interrogation process. According to court records, Welch stated that he was in the basement in the following days the girl's abduction and witnessed his father and uncle dismember one of the Lyon sisters. Detectives testified in pretrial testimony that the old men threatened him and forced him to clean up the remains and transport them to family farm near Bedford. In December 2014, Welch's cousin Henry Parker informed detectives that he met Welch in 1975 at a farm on Taylor's Mountain Road in Thaxton, Virginia. Parker stated that he helped in the removal of 2 Army-style duffel bags from Welch's vehicle. According to a search warrant document filed and sealed in January 2015, each suitcase weighed roughly 60 or 70 pounds and smelt like a death. Parker also stated that the bags were stained in red and he then set fire to the bags without knowing what was inside. Welch was openly listed as a person of interest in the case in February 2014. He was 18 years old in the year where it happened and has since been convicted of rapes in 3 other states, was seen paying attention to the sisters according to police. The police then searched Thaxton's woods and entered a property in Hyattsville, Maryland, seizing several items. The house belonged to Welch's parents, and he had been living in the basement. Detectives and forensic technicians searched the basement and discovered it exactly as Welch had described it in the previous interview. They drilled into the concrete in search of old blood stains. Prosecutors would later claim in court papers that they had located some blood. Scientists were also able to identify human DNA in at least one of the samples, but it was of insufficient quality to determine where it came from. Detectives investigated the uncle, who Welch had claimed was in the basement, by spending months listening to phone taps, They also talking to people who knew him and probing his past before prosecutors determined there was no evidence to seek an indictment. According to the uncle's attorney, the man was not involved in the Lyon case. Lloyd Welch's father, whom he also implicated, died in Tennessee in 1998. In July 2015, Welch, who was then serving a lengthy sentence in Delaware for child molestation, was charged with first-degree felony murder in connection with the deaths of Katherine and Sheila Lyon. He was also accused with abduction with the purpose to defile. The whereabouts of the girls' bodies are still unknown. It would have been the longest time between a murder and a trial in a bodiless murder conviction if Welch had been brought to trial, without the bodies of the girls being admitted into evidence. Finally, in September 2017, Welch pleaded guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder, in connection with the 1975 kidnapping and murder of Katherine and Sheila Lyon. He was sentenced to 48 years in prison on 2 charges of first-degree criminal murder. What do you think would happen if Welch was charged with first-degree felony murder, in connection with the deaths of Lyon's sister in the same year they disappeared, as their parents had to wait for almost 40 years for justice for their 2 little children, taken and murdered in 1975? Let me know in the comments section below.